with Nelson Jordan. I'm Chris Nelson. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page so that you can catch up on all of our content. Please follow us on our social media pages and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Today we are discussing the Buffalo Bills defeating the Miami Dolphins 31-21. Nelson, what were your takeaways from the game?
I thought this was a great game for a Thursday night showdown. I thought both teams, obviously, this is an intra-division AFC East matchup between the Dolphins and the Bills. Uh, a lot of us thought that Buffalo was going to run rampant on the Dolphins. The final score may tell that, and they may have covered the spread, or excuse me, they did not cover the
They did
spread.
not.
Yeah, they were off by 1 point. But
Two and a
or
half.
2 points,
12 and a
right?
half point spread.
Yeah, right.
12 and a half point
But
spread, sorry.
through the majority of this game until the fourth quarter, Miami was putting up a fight, and they had them with their heels pointed upwards. I mean, this was a fairly good game. I thought Tua had some moments where it did make you scratch your head again, like week one and week two. But then I also did see his perseverance on some third downs, with one of the big key third downs, which was extending the drive before the second half, for the first half, excuse me. That nice pass to Tyreek Hill, finding him in that little gap in the coverage. Tyreek Hill gets the ball, turns upfield, they convert it, and then they go to score to get, tie game into essentially the second half. And from then on, we did see Buffalo just basically say, okay, we need to not let these guys hang around. They did so by having to be 21-28, at least by the fourth quarter. But by then, Josh Allen and company and James Cook, they were running rampant. Their offensive mindset, spreading the ball around, letting James Cook and company constantly run the ball down their throats. It was just a will at this point, and Buffalo took it to them. Josh Allen did not have his biggest game through the air. He threw really nice couple of triple touchdowns, one to Kincaid and a couple other ones as well. Like I said, James Cook, he had himself a nice game as well, 108 yards on 19 carries. So I really, really did think that, this was a good, you're pissed off as a Miami fan because it's like, what is it with these guys? They were really bad week one, and then games two and games three, it's like there was a chance to find a way to win the game, but as always, Mike McDaniel just ends up choking. I do have a lot more feedback and comments after this, but I'll let you get your word in.
Yeah, I think you and I are reading the same book, but we're on a bit of a different page on a lot of that. So I do just want to clarify something really quickly. Tyreek Hill's touchdown catch tied the game at 21 in the second half. Jalen Waddle had the touchdown catch at the end of the first
I
half.
wasn't referring to a touchdown. I was referring to a key third down that Tua
I
and
know you
company.
said it after that as well. It's all good.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah,
I will touch on that third down in a moment here. But yeah, look, I give the Dolphins some credit because, as you stated, they were 12.5 point underdogs, and this is their 10th consecutive loss in Buffalo. So, I mean, they haven't won there in forever. I believe that includes the playoff game a few years ago
yeah.
as well during
It's
that stretch. But
yeah,
it's been around a
a
decade since they've won
while.
in Buffalo.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they've been dominated mostly at home too in that series, but a lot of the games in more recent years have been close, and it felt like they had opportunities to win, and they shoot themselves in the foot. I don't necessarily put that one in the same category. The shoot themselves in the foot part, yes. Having a chance to win, I don't really think so. It does need to be noted the Dolphins are playing with a banged up offensive line, and to be fair, the Bills' defense was without both Matt Milano, who is as good a linebacker as there is in the league,
yeah,
as well as their defensive tackle, Ed Oliver. And the
yeah.
Dolphins were down three cornerbacks, which I just don't know how that's possible. I don't know that I've seen a team be down three cornerbacks in one game. I mean, they had Jack Jones and Rasul Douglas as their starting outside cornerbacks. They obviously traded Jalen Ramsey to Pittsburgh and Johnny Smith as well. Minka Fitzpatrick was back there, and he actually had a good game, as did Bradley Chubb, to give the Dolphins defense a little bit of credit because on the whole it was a very poor performance.
Yeah.
But they came out to start the game and big kickoff return to the Bills' 47-yard line, and then they methodically marched down the field, just
Yep.
little plays, and scored a
Yep.
touchdown. They looked great, but then Buffalo came out on their drive and immediately did the same thing. I mean,
Yep.
James Cook was just ripping off big run after big run after big run. He looked so good. He is so good. And then they got the passing game going, as you said, with Dalton Kincaid, who got it up with the touchdown catch. I think he had three catches in the opening drive. He had a good game on the whole, but most of it came in that opening drive. And you
Hmm.
could tell as we got later into the game after that, because that happened, Miami started to focus coverage on him, which resulted late in the game. They had a blown coverage because they had three guys go with Dalton Kincaid and left someone else wide open, which was not
Yeah.
their first blown coverage in the game. They had a few. They had a play early in the game. I believe it was in the second drive. The left receiver wide open in the flat. And that was the difference is now we're tied at 7. Both teams score in the opening drive, but then Miami goes 3 and out, and Tua Tagovailoa looked absolutely horrible. I mean, Washington's wide open in the flat on first down, 6-7 yards away. He overthrows him. They get stuffed on a run on second down. I think they gained a yard. And then on third down, he bobbles
Yeah.
the snap and gains some yards running, but they punt. And then the Bills again
Yeah.
methodically march on the field and score a touchdown. It looks so impressive. And just like
Yeah.
that, they have the lead. The Dolphins go 3 and out again. And I mean, credit to the Bills' defense, and I get it. The Dolphins are playing with the makeshift offensive line. Tua Tagovailoa had 35 dropbacks. He threw the ball on 34 of those, and he was pressured on nearly half of those dropbacks. That's
And surprisingly, 0 sacks. That's the surprising part. Not one sack on
Yeah,
Tua.
and he deserves a little bit credit for that, but there are some criticisms when he was scrambling around, which he did a lot of and probably too much. He did not look good. Criticism needs to be given to the receivers for not getting open, but he did not look comfortable in the pocket at all. He didn't look comfortable scrambling around. He can't throw on the run. And just to reference the play you were talking about on the third down, yes, good job by him rolling out to his left and finding Tyreek Hill, but that pass was a duck. It's just that Tyreek Hill is so good and was so wide open that it was impossible to miss him. That pass was ugly. I mean, it was ugly. So I can only give him so much credit. He can't throw on the run. He doesn't have a big arm. His awareness was poor. His pocket presence was poor. His vision was poor. There were times when he threw the ball to the wrong guy. He wasn't going through his progressions. And his accuracy was poor. I just mentioned one of the plays, and there were others when he missed open receivers. And none of this is new. We see overthrows. We see underthrows. And then Mike McDaniel called a very poor game. I mean, Devon Achane had a good game, as did the rookie running back Ollie Gordon II. They were both running the ball well. Devon Achane with his speed, Ollie Gordon II with his power, breaking tackles. And they just, you can look at the box score and see it. Why didn't they get more carries? But this is typical Mike McDaniel. They don't run the ball enough. They're constantly throwing the ball to these guys behind the line of scrimmage and the flat, especially Devon Achane. First of all, poor play call. Second of all, poor read by Tua Tagovailoa to throw the ball to him on a lot of these. And third of all, poor job to catch the ball in the first place because a lot of these resulted in negative yardage. I mean, you can only imagine what the Dolphins could have done if they could have avoided that, run the ball a bit more, and thrown the ball. I'm not talking down the field, but just beyond the line of scrimmage a bit more because I get they had to
I
dink and
agree.
dunk with the way the offensive
I
line
agree.
was being dominated.
I
But
agree.
it's just, and you can establish your offensive line more by running the football and allowing your offensive linemen to get downhill, be physical, assert
I agree.
themselves. Establish the line of scrimmage. And look, you're right. Ultimately the drive. Well, first of all, Buffalo's third drive to come back to it. Bradley Chubb had a great sack on Josh Allen on third down. So he had a good game. He drew a hold later on against a perennial Pro Bowl left tackle and Deion Dawkins. Both those plays
Yep.
against him. And Deion Dawkins,
Yep.
outside of those plays, had a really good game per usual.
Yes.
So give Bradley Chubb a lot of credit. He looked good. He obviously missed all of last season. And that sack led to a field goal from Matt Prater, which 30 yards, and he just whiffed on it. I mean,
Yeah,
the sack made a longer kick. It worked out for the Dolphins, but he's got to make that. And he missed badly. I mean, he just whiffed. And then, like you said, they went down the field. They converted 5 third downs. They had 3 third down conversions in the opening drive, 3 for 3, 5 for 5 in the last drive of the first half, and then the 2 3 and outs in between. It's kind of nuts.
Yep.
But they went down and got the touchdown in the final seconds. I'm not exactly sure. I get why Sean McDermott took his timeouts, but it kind of seemed to backfire. And look, maybe the Dolphins score anyway. They just go at a faster pace. But that was a little odd. I mean, the Dolphins finished the half of the timeout in their pocket. So I don't really like that from Sean McDermott. But they won the game, so we can move on from it. Second half, the Bills' offense picked right back up where they left off. They didn't get sacked this time. Touchdown. They're back in front. And as you said, eventually the Dolphins did find their way. I think they had a couple of punts between, but the defense finally stepped up, forced a couple of stops, I think 3 and outs. And then they go down and get the game-tying touchdown, and that's when things got a little chippy. And look, I'm criticizing Tua Tagovailoa for his poor performance, and justifiably so, and there's more to come, but the Dolphins team as a whole executed very poorly in this game. I'm criticizing Mike McDaniel's coaching and play calling as well, and justifiably so, but the execution from the Dolphins just watching the game was poor, and that's a problem with coaching.
They could have done better.
Yeah. And so now we have the situation where, first of all, on the third down, that receiver was open. Jack Jones interfered with him. Jack Jones, actually, in the first offensive play, was called for a big pass interference that got the Bills started in their opening drive. That was a pass interference that was not called. And then on the punt, They pinned him on the 2 yard line. And we have the horrible, moronic roughing the punter mistake that was just a horrible play from the Dolphins. I mean, that can't happen ever in a football game. But in this specific situation, I am never going to be okay with. I talk about all the time how much I value execution, and that's the poorest execution you can have. But that pass interference should have been called. And if you hadn't interfered with him, it would have been a catch for a first down and a good gain. It would have been a big penalty and a first down and a good gain. And if everything works out, best case for the Dolphins anyway, with that not being called and no roughing the punter, they're on their own 2 yard line with a banged up makeshift offensive line that can't block all night. That's a horrible situation to be in, even if Tua Tagovailoa hadn't been sacked and most
Yeah.
of the runs were at least getting back to the line of scrimmage, if not gaining yards. That wasn't going to work out for them. The Bills score the touchdown and take the lead. It was inevitable. And then Tua Tagovailoa on the interception. I mean, they're moving the ball again. Another good-looking drive. He stared down Jalen Waddle, which was the wrong read to begin with. He had another receiver open who he should have gone through his progressions and found. Stared it
Yeah.
down, threw it right to him. Terrell Bernard picks it off, gets a nice return. They kick the field goal. Dolphins can't do anything in the limited time they have left. I mean, realistically, the Bills kind of settled for the field goal anyway. They didn't even try to really do much. They just said,
Yeah.
let's run the clock and get the field goal. Terrell Bernard had a really good game, by the way. And with Matt Milano and Ed Oliver out, he needed to. He stepped up. He had a really good game. He played very well. It wasn't just the interception. But it's just Tua Tagovailoa was horrible. The Dolphins' execution was horrible. Mike McDaniel's coaching was poor. They didn't look prepared. They don't execute. His play calling is poor. Their defense is
Yeah.
poor. It's very frustrating. The last thing I'll say is I feel bad for the Buffalo Bills betting backers because of Matt Prater simply makes that 38-yard field goal in the first half. They win by 13 and just barely cover that 12.5-point spread. Instead, they only win by 10, and the Dolphins backers win some money unless you had them on the money line, in which case, I don't know why you took the Dolphins of Buffalo on the money line. But, yeah, throw that. Vegas must have known something with how close we came to hitting that. I know you have more thoughts, Nelson. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll finish up our segment unless you got something else at the very end. But I thought as I'm watching the game, I'm like you, I'm pissed off because we saw the talent from a couple years ago when the Miami Dolphins were clearly a very good team up and coming. You had a I everyone thought you had a
I wouldn't
nice
go so far as to
pairing.
say very good.
Well, I
They were
say
good.
very good, and then you have elite. I think they were like one step behind. Like they could potentially make a run. They could never get over the hump. And
Including the
frankly,
wild card
they always
playoff
had to
losses, they
go
had
to.
back to back 9-9 seasons. I just can't call that very good. But go ahead.
Well, when you get the oddball of having to go play either in the cold weather, and unfortunately, this is true about Miami fans regardless, or
Both in
Miami
Buffalo and in
teams.
Kansas City.
Yeah, it's just you get the wrong end of the
You,
straw.
you
But
get that when you only go 9-8 3 straight years. The first one they missed the playoffs with Brian Flores, and then back to back 9-8 seasons. Mike McDaniel's first 2 years.
well,
You're
yeah.
going to go on the road.
Well,
So
I'm focusing on the potential of what the quick strike offense was,
right,
the amount of talent that they had. But to fast forward, because we're talking about the game, this was a complete compilation of why Miami fans have been frustrated because you have seen this team time and time again, especially with Mike McDaniels. Mike McDaniels at this point seems to be one step behind because he's overthinking or he's making it too complicated for himself, then simplifying the offense and making it easier for Tua. And then Tua is overthinking the offense and is trying to go for the big play and or feed the angry receiver instead of passing the ball around. The beauty about the Miami's offense for so many years was, like you stated, they still have weapons. Hill, Waddle,
speed.
uh,
Speed
yeah,
comes
speed.
HN,
Their
Alexander
running
II.
backs, HN Gordon looked great.
Yeah,
I mean, this was the pinnacle of the Miami Dolphins offense, and they were going to hold possession. They were going to be able to do both pass and run, be balanced, but never be more than one. And unfortunately, Mike McDaniels is now, like you said, he's getting in his own way. We saw every touchdown drive when the Miami Dolphins were scoring. Ollie Gordon was just thumping,
yeah,
running, going through folks. Chen comes in. He goes around the seat gap, gets 5, 6, 7 yards.
yeah. You got an
Then you have
exhaustive
these.
defense trying to tackle that speed.
Exactly. You have these quick passes, beautiful passes, or at least plays set up
Yeah,
to Hill where he's able to catch the ball in space, cut back,
yeah,
go up and get the first down. It was
absolutely.
perfect. But
I agree.
then but then these other drives, it's like, okay, we're gonna just throw Tua back there and let him see if he can throw like a big play down the hill. When I remember it, they had sent both Hill and Waddle to the right hand side. He's going for Hill when the pass should have gone to Waddle. Literally. Hill, that throw was not going to make it to Hill, even though, yes, he's wide open. Waddle's the big play because he can, if that ball gets to Waddle, he can possibly split both the safety and the corner and go for a big gain. I mean,
Perfect. That's where you and I are on the same page. I said it.
it was
His
just,
vision is he's not going for his progressions.
this is what's been pissing Miami fans off because it's like
Yeah.
we have the offense to at least be in shootouts and win more games than not. But now it's like, do we have to strip the studs? Because honestly, now the pairing of both Mike McDaniels and Tua is now starting to break. And unfortunately it has been. And more and more and more. So this it's not great to be a Miami Dolphins fan, but I mean, hey, if you got to restart the cycle sooner rather than later, I mean, I don't know. Do you start doing it sooner rather than later and just getting over with, or do you just waste the whole season? That's just me personally, but that's too far thinking on the head. But I don't know if you got anything else to what I had to say. I mean,
Yeah.
even the defense wasn't playing so shabby. Sorry, let me just say this
No, no,
last
no,
thing.
no. Please, please, please.
You were talking about the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, when they were also both passing and running the ball with James Cook, they were controlling. But Miami wasn't so bad. I mean, I'm looking at the statistics.
In the second
Buffalo,
half, they
yeah,
after the opening drive of the second half and before the final couple
yeah,
drives, they had a
Buffalo,
middle there of two or three drives where the Dolphins defense did stand up and play well. But you're an NFL defense. That's expected at some point
yeah,
in a game.
yeah.
And to be fair, they were down three cornerbacks, so I get where you're coming from. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, for a Thursday night game, this is the epitome of Miami, a Miami fan of my last statement. This is an epitome. Miami had their chance at times, and Mike McDaniels got in his own way, too overcomplicated things, and they lost this game. They really did. They could have won this in a shootout. If they really wanted to, they could have done it. They could have done it.
So I have a few quick notes, and I have a question for you, and then I have one more quick note, fun fact to throw out there to close this out. So it has to be noted that their former perennial Pro Bowl left tackle Teron Armstead retired before the season. So
Oh
they didn't
yeah,
draft him because you were talking about
yeah,
guys they had in the past, and I was thinking the same thing in watching the game. Their Pro Bowl tight end Jonnu Smith they traded to Pittsburgh, as I mentioned previously, so they don't have those guys anymore. The offensive line, you got a lot of young guys or guys who just aren't very good, or a combination of those. So,
yeah.
and we talk about it, Nelson. Games are won and lost in the trenches. So it's great you have all this speed on the outside in the backfield, but what can you really do with it when you have such a poor offensive line? It just doesn't matter. But
I don't know if I want to say poor offensive line. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. They were running over 5 yards a clip and rushing. At least you're rushing the ball really well. It's one
yeah,
thing if you can't
exactly.
even
And that's why they
maintain that or
shouldn't run the
pass it.
ball
I
more.
mean,
That
hello.
if
It's
they run
just
the ball more and establish line of scrimmage, that can
they could have won the
alleviate the
game.
pressure.
Exactly.
I
Yep.
don't know if I'll necessarily go that far, but I get where you're coming from. Anyways, I'll throw a fun fact out there. Al Michaels
Sure.
mentioned this in the broadcast last night. In the 1970s decade, so from 70 to 79, the Miami Dolphins went 20-0 against the Buffalo Bills, which is absolutely remarkable. And I know the Dolphins had some great teams. Don
That's
Shula's the
crazy.
head coach. He became the head coach in
That's
70.
crazy.
They obviously went to three straight Super Bowls, 71 to 73. Won the last two of those. Perfect season in 72. Lost to the Raiders in the Sea of Hands in 74. Another great team they had. And then, of course, the Hall of Fame fullback Larry Zonka, his halfback Jim Kick, and Hall of Fame wide receiver Paul Warfield, all left for another league after that season. So they fell off a little bit. But still, the Bills had O.J. Simpson and some other guys, and still it didn't matter. Now, that stadium opened, Highmark Stadium opened in 73, so it was
Yes.
during that stretch, and this is the 53rd and final season they're playing there, and so they started off with this massive losing streak to the Dolphins there, and that started before they moved in that stadium, and now to close out the stadium, they win the final 10 times they host the Dolphins there.
Wow.
So I just thought that was something a little bit interesting to put out there. But yeah, no, hey guys, that's all we have for today on this one. And for Nelson Jordan, I'm Chris Nelson. This has been the first and final word.